Okay, here we go. So this will be a relatively quick lesson because we're doing something at 9 o'clock. So, and then I'll give you guys a little bit of time to work on this. So this is 6-4 in your math workbook, and it's about absolute value. And I taught you guys this very briefly, what absolute value means, and I put a definition on the board for you, but I wrote it here again for you. And you might actually want to write this down somewhere, not in your book, but it's the distance from zero on a number line. And what absolute value looks like, and I explained this to you guys the other day too, if I wrote a number, let's say 7, and there's two vertical lines on either side of the 7, that means the absolute value of 7. That's what that means. And it's not limited to whole numbers or integers. I mean, if I could put -8, and if I put those two vertical symbols around it, that means the absolute value of -8. If I put a 0.023 and then I put those symbols around it, that means the absolute value of 0.023. And the same thing also applies if it's a fraction. It doesn't really matter. And it could be a mixed number, an improper fraction. It doesn't matter. When you have those two vertical lines, that means absolute value. So again, the definition of absolute value is the distance from zero on a number line. Now they've got a little chart here. I don't know if you're on that page in your book, but you can see it right here. And they just want students to be thinking about how it kind of works. Because if I was to consider sea level, which is right there, as the absolute value, and then I was to ask you, well, the seaplane, for example, let me pull a stick here. The seaplane, Mr. Marquardt, how far is the seaplane from sea level? I don't know if you can see it there. Maybe it looks better in your book, but take a look. 2,000 meters. It's 2,000 meters from sea level. Okay? And so put up 50 points. Miss Sensor, if I was to ask you how far the whale is from sea level, what would you say?
Minus 2,000 meters?
Nope. It's 2,000 meters from sea level, not minus 2,000. Okay? Because you're just looking at the distance, just the distance, how far it's from sea level. If I drew a number line, Miss Sensor, put 0 here, and I put 3 here, and -3 here, let me ask you, how far is 3 from 0? How far is it? Don't make it harder than it is. How far is it? Okay. If you're not understanding, here's 1, here's 2. How far is this from 0? 3. Good. That's all I'm looking for. Now, if I was to ask you, how far is -3 from 0? 1, 2, what? 3. Okay? Do you understand now?
Yeah.
It's just how far it is from 0. And so, does anybody not understand the point I'm trying to make with absolute value? And don't be bashful. Raise your hand if you're still not sure what I'm talking about. Okay. So, so if you understand what I'm saying, then you're going to understand this. No matter what the number is, the absolute value is always positive. Let me say it again. It doesn't matter what the number is, fraction, a decimal, a negative, a positive. Absolute value is always positive. because all you're concerned with is how far it is from zero. Not whether it's a negative, not if it's a fraction, not if it's a decimal, just how far it is from zero. So this makes some questions, I'll just say it, pathetically easy.
Whoa.
So, what's the absolute value of negative 2?
2.
2. What's the absolute value of negative 1/3?
1/3.
1/3. What's the absolute value of 0.00078? What's the absolute value of that?
0.0007.
78. It's always positive. And once you guys understand that, then it's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. So, Ms. Sensor, I'm going to go back to you because you initially got that wrong. How far is the whale from sea level?
2,000.
2,000. Good. Do you understand it now?
Yeah.
Good. All right. Let me pull another 6. Miss Russell, how far is, I don't know, that squid-looking thing from sea level?
6,000.
6,000, right? Okay. Mr. Rainbolt, how far, and put up 50 points when you guys get these right. Mr. Rainbolt, how far is the Boeing 747 from sea level?
The top one. 5,000 meters.
Yeah, 5,000 meters. Nicely done. Put up 50 points. Let's see here. Miss Ryan, how far is that underwater Kayako submarine thing from, I can't even pronounce it, from sea level?
7,000 meters.
7,000 meters, okay. So that's what they're talking about. This is just an example to help you understand absolute value. It's just how far it is from whatever is determined to be the absolute value. In that case, it happened to be sea level. So let's move a little bit further here. I'm not going to worry about those activities. So looking at the key idea here, it says absolute value of a number is the distance between the number and 0 on the number line. So they phrased it a little bit differently than I did, but it's the same thing. So the absolute value of a number is written as whatever that number is, and there's those 2 vertical lines, all right? So if I asked you what the absolute value of A is, Mr. Salcedo, what's the absolute value of A? Look up here. It's not really in your book. Ms. Scott? It's A. Absolute value of A is A. Okay. So here they've got another example here. It says the absolute value of negative 2 is 2. The absolute value of 2 is 2. And again, I emphasized a few minutes ago, absolute value was always positive. So in example 1 here, it says find the absolute value of 3. Mr. Laboutier, what is the absolute value of 3?
3.
It's 3 because it's 3 from 0 on the number line. And then the next one, they ask you to find the absolute, put up 50 points. The next one, it says find the absolute value of negative 2.5. Miss Werner, what is it? 2.5. Put up 50 points. Nicely done. So negative, whoops. So negative, the absolute value of negative 2.5 is just simply 2.5 because that's how far it is from 0 on the number line. All right. Everybody do 1 through 6 right there. You got 30 seconds.
I already did. I knew you were going to assign this, so I already did.
Anybody gets it wrong, you'll be erasing points. 15 seconds. All right. I see some of you writing, and you really even don't have to write. You should be able to look right at it and tell me what the answer is.
I was ready.
Mr. Orweller, number 1, what's the absolute value of 8?
8.
Nicely done, 50 points. Mr. Marquardt, what's the absolute value of negative 6?
6.
Nicely done, 50 points. Miss Russell, what's the absolute value of 0?
0.
0, nicely done, 50 points. Miss Ryan, what's the absolute value of 1/4?
1/4.
Nicely done, 50 points. Mr. Salcedo, what's the absolute value of negative 7 and 1/3?
7.
Say it again. If you don't, I don't know if you can see it. If not, look in your book. I'm asking about number 5. What's the absolute value of negative 7 and 1/3? 7 and 1/3. That's what I was looking for. I think you just said 7 at first. Okay, nicely done. 50 points. And then Mr. Laboutier, what's the absolute value of negative 12.9? 12.9, 50 points. Okay, hopefully everybody understands that. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to assign some problems here. I'm looking, yeah, 7, 8, 9. I mean, gosh, these are so, I'll say it again, pathetically easy. Yeah, you can do 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 23. 24, 25, 26. And I'm not worried about the explain your reasoning. I'm assuming you understand it if you got it right. I'll go back over those in a moment. I just wanted to mark these down. Order from least to greatest. Just do 28 and 30. And notice, this is important, you guys. Eyes up here. Everybody look. In these problems, they're mixing numbers that are absolute value, and some are not. Okay? So if I ask you the question, think of it this way. If I ask you the question, which is larger, or which is the greatest number, what would it be?
23.
Yeah, because what's the absolute value of negative 23?
23.
So which is larger? Obviously 23. So keep that in mind when you do 28 and 30. Okay. All right. Let me see here. What else?
We could do 31, 32, and 34.
Ask me that again.
We could do 31, 32, and 33.
You could, but I don't want you to because they're so easy.
You should just do 40, 41.
Always, sometimes, or never. True. Okay. And again, you don't have to explain it. 35, 36, 37. Yeah, 40. 42, 44. Excuse me, for 40, for 40 and 42, if you can do it neatly, you could just draw your own graph. okay? And then mark the point. So 1, 1 would be, I don't know, right about there. 3, 5, 3 first, and then 5, be right about there. All right. So, but if you use a straight edge, might be a little bit easier. It's up to you guys. That was a reminder for me. Okay. All right. I'll end this video.